Hey guys, Megan with another YouTube video. Today we're going to be looking at a remake of a previous model. This is the Colt ACR, and this is when things get a little confusing because there's all sorts of different rifles that are called ACRs. You may have been familiar with the Magpul ACR or Bushmaster ACR. Magpul really kind of calls it the Masada, but the Masada and the ACR are the same thing. That's the most recent ACR that I can think of in my memory, but Colt at one point in time had an ACR. It does not, however, stand for adaptive combat rifle. It actually stands for advanced combat rifle. So there was a program that the military in the United States ran for a little bit looking for a replacement of the AR-15 style platform of weapons, looking into weapons that were capable of delivering a better chance at hit probability. So there were a few weapons considered for this program. First and foremost, probably the most famous, in all honesty, is the H&K G11. And their promise, their claim to fame, if you will, in order to get a better hit probability, is a burst fire feature that fires so fast that by the time the third round has left the barrel, you're just now feeling the recoil. So 3 rounds at the same area that you have shot with no recoil is how H&K tried to solve this hit probability problem, if you will. Steyr also came out with a representation and a submission to the program itself. I don't know too much about the Steyr option other than it's butt ugly. And I believe it fires flechettes as well. And I want to say the reason they chose flechettes is because they were flatter flying, so you don't have to compensate in your aim as much in order to hit them. And I just, like I said, I don't know too much about the Steyr submission because it never really went anywhere. Colt, the only American company, I believe, to enter the competition, actually came up with its own design. Of course, Colt is manufacturing AR-15s during this time, and I'm pretty sure they still are nowadays, but they had already had a government contract, and their eyes, it was, well, we can keep the AR-15 platform, but we need to update the cartridge it shoots. So they came up with this very cool cartridge called a Duplex Cartridge. It's a 5.56 by 45 round that has one bullet where it usually is at the tip of the case. And then the base of that bullet has been hollowed out just slightly. And there is a second bullet inside the case that is in the bottom of the first bullet. So one cartridge, 2 bullets, which means instead of a 30 round magazine, even though it's still 30 rounds, you technically have 60 bullets coming at the weapon, which means you pull the trigger once, 2 bullets are going to leave the barrel at the same time, and they should be close enough that whatever you're aiming at, you increase your hit probability chance. That was Colt's idea. So then they proceeded to build a weapon up, a platform around this idea. They started with a very basic AR-15 receiver because, duh, it's what the military already has. We can use that. We can use that as a selling point that they won't have to get brand new receivers. They just need to get new barrels and the handguard and stuff like that. And further on in the development, they discussed that sight acquisition was a huge thing. And they decided that they needed a way to kind of quickly draw your eye to the sights. So after that kind of conversation, they decided that the way to do that is to design this huge valley that goes from the rear sight all the way to the front sight. And when they did that, they had to make material on top of the handguard to get from point A to point B. And that is why you see this giant thing on top of the handguard just going straight down to the front post. That's actually there because that's the valley that draws your eye to the front sight. So this is the Colt ACR Mark II. I have already built this model before. This is a newer version of it that looks much better, believe me. I've gone over the AR-15 platform or weapon on my channel plenty of times before, so I'll just be talking primarily about what we've changed to make this a Colt ACR Mark II. So Starting here with our carry handle and rear sight. This is it's slightly redesigned, but it does the same thing as a regular carry handle on an AR-15. This does screw down to the top. You can see the adjustment knobs here going all the way across, no big deal. There is some windage adjustment and elevation adjustment in the back, and then you have a hole here. This leads into that valley that I was talking about down the entire front top of the weapon right here. That goes all the way to the front post. That was there so that as you go to kind of find the sights of the weapon coming down like this, if you're about to aim, your eye follows this shadow all the way down here to the bright spot, and you start to pick up that front post until you finally get it. Now, obviously, on the real life model, there'd be some gap between here, and there'd be air, and you would see more of those shadows. As far as I know, during testing, this was an improvement, but it wasn't exactly what the military was looking for, so it's not something that they fully adopted. Also, it's really goofy looking, and it adds a lot of weight to the rifle, so why would you need it? That was a good choice on the military's option because obviously iron sights are not the way to go. You need some type of magnified optic is the best type of optic to have. That said, they did redesign this with a new handguard. It's a very basic handguard. They have the rounded bottom portion. They have a groove cut into the handguard all the way down to the front for your fingers to rest in no matter where you're at on the handguard. Oh, weird noise. You have a small slope going all the way down the front, and then you actually get these gigantic holes cut in the handguard. I'm assuming that part of this is heat ventilation coming off the barrel in case of intense firefights, and the other part of this is weight savings. Not entirely too sure because there's not a whole lot of information about this program. Excuse me. They redesigned the barrel to be a little bit heavier barrel for increased stabilization. If you ever take a look at some really slow motion shots of weapons shooting, you'll find out the barrel kind of tends to flop around a lot. If you're trying to increase hit probability, it's probably not a good idea for one projectile to leave the barrel to flop and then the second projectile to leave out the back. So they did increase the weight of the barrel to a heavier barrel. They did redesign the front post slightly, and then they did add their own weird kind of muzzle attachment up here, but it does accept standard A2 bird cages. And that there is the Colt ACR Mark II. This was a pretty fun remake to do because I've definitely come up a long way since the original make of this model. So thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to comment and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. I'll see you guys later in another YouTube video. If you guys want to see these models before they come out anywhere else, don't be afraid to check out my Discord. If you need a link to join my Discord, just drop a comment down below and I'll shoot you guys an invite. Thanks for watching. See you later.